We'll call to order the Douglasville City Council Legislative Work Session for tonight, which is Thursday, March the 14th, 2024. Our invocation will be done by our own Director of Parks and Recreation, Mr. Chris Bass, and after that, we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led by the Mayor Pro Tem, City Councilmember Terry Miller. Please stand for the invocation.
Let us close our eyes in prayer. Heavenly Father, we come to you as humbly as we know how, first to say thank you. Thank you for the grace and mercy that you have bestowed upon our community. Lord, as we conduct the business of the city of Douglasville tonight, we ask that you just continue to cover our elected leaders, Lord. We ask that you give them a spirit of discernment, give them a spirit of care, Lord, and allow them to make decisions that are pleasing in your sight. In your Son, Jesus' name, we do pray. Amen. To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, for leading us in the pledge, and Director Bass, thank you so much for that prayer. We appreciate that. Someone said you were Deacon Bass today. Thank you so much. I'd like to welcome you to the Douglasville City Council. My name is Rochelle Robinson. I'm mayor of the city of Douglasville. This is a work session where agenda items are presented for discussion only, and no official action will be taken on the items tonight, but they will be taken action on these items discussed tonight on Monday at our voting meeting, our regular voting meeting at 6 p.m. If the business you're here for is not listed as an agenda item, there will be ample time under the agenda items, comments from citizens and delegates for you to discuss your business. I'll go over a few protocol issues and items, and then we can follow the agenda that is printed either outside if you would like to have a paper agenda on the desk, and or you can follow us on the screen. I ask that you will please keep your comments and presentations on a professional level dealing with the facts that are important for this governing body to make our decisions. We will not accept comments that are considered by the chair to be of a personal attack on any individual or group of individuals. If you deviate from this requirement, we will, for a second deviation, we will discontinue the conversation by turning the microphone off. Only one person speaking at a time, please. Please do not applaud or react to speakers or speak from the audience, cheer, or carry on a conversation when you are at the microphone. We ask that you would please come to the podium and address your concerns to the chairperson. I'll remind you, if you have any printed materials, if you would please give those to our city clerk, Ms. Vicki Acker, to my right with the burgundy top on, and she will make copies and disseminate those copies to myself and council members. We're only required to accept public comments during the public hearings. Now, if you have a cell phone or electronic device, I ask that you would please put those in silent mode or turn those off until after the meeting so they will not be disruptive. Now, this is how the agenda items will be handled this evening. The committee chairperson will read their agenda item. That person or applicant will make his or her presentation. Myself and council members will possibly ask clarifying questions to help us make a determination for our vote next week. And after that, if there's a public comment, the committee chairperson will ask for those in favor of the item to come forward, and you have 5 minutes to speak. And in totality, those that are in favor have 20 minutes to speak on that item with 5 minutes per person. And the other side that's in opposition will have 20 minutes as well to speak with 5 minutes per person as well. Each speaker has 5 minutes, and there are speaker cards outside. There are blue cards. If you'd like to fill those cards out, bring them forward. Hand those to our city clerk for the record, and then she will invite you to the microphone to have an opportunity to speak to us. Each person only has one opportunity to speak. It's not a question and debate format or back and forth. We'll just hear your information and move on. So we ask you not to repeat yourselves or others come and make the same comments. Please address your comments to the chair. And I believe that is all we have. Hopefully everyone's on the same page. And if there are some items that are not covered on the agenda and you'd like to speak to us, there is a portion for citizens and delegates to come and talk to myself and council members at the end of the meeting about anything that is germane to the city of Douglasville. That's a lot of talking. Hopefully we all are on the same page and we understand the procedure for the meeting. So now we will go get into the meat of the meeting, and the meeting will run by, the agenda goes by each committee. So we have finished with our pledge and the announcements, and now we do have a presentation, our fiscal year 2023 audit presentation by Maulding and Jenkins, and we'll have Ms. Meredith Lipson come and present to us, and we welcome her to come. She did present to us at our committee meetings, and now you're here to give the information to the public. So thank you so much for your patience. We appreciate you giving us the information again.
Sure.
Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you. My name again is Meredith Lipson. I'm the audit partner for the City of Douglasville's fiscal year 2023 audit. Start back over. Ooh. Okay, let me see if I can work this. So I'm here to present the fiscal year 2023 annual audit.
Yes, ma'am.
Just a little bit of information about our firm. We do an extensive amount of governmental auditing throughout the Southeast and feel like we have a lot of experience and bring a lot of depth to our audit clients. As far as the fiscal year 2023 audit goes, we did issue an unmodified, clean opinion. That's, of course, the one that you want to get. As always, our financial statements, the financial statements are the responsibility of management. Our responsibility is to express an opinion based on our audit procedures. And again, it was an unmodified, clean opinion. As far as our audit process, we found no material weaknesses, no significant deficiencies, no findings of any type, as well as no instances of noncompliance or other matters. As far as the 2023 single audit, which is the audit of your federal funding, we also issued an unmodified clean opinion on compliance for the major program, which was the Coronavirus State and Local Fiscal Recovery Funds through the U.S. Department of the Treasury. No findings, again, as far as the single audit goes. As part of the audit process, we as auditors are required to communicate certain things under the standards that guide us. And so we have included those within this discussion and analysis. I certainly won't read all of this to you, but these required communications are things that include significant accounting policies, which are listed within your financial report, that there are judgments and accounting estimates inherent in any audit, and we do feel like those that were the accounting estimates and the judgments made by management were within line and similar to those used by other governments. There are certain financial statement disclosures, the footnotes of the financial statements, which are included within the audit report. We had full cooperation from management, as always. We did have a few audit adjustments, nothing of any great significance. Those adjustments were recorded and they were provided to the finance department to incorporate within the general ledger. We requested written representation from management and received that written representation. We know of no other consultation with accountants as part of the audit process, and no significant issues that were discussed with management related to any risk of material misstatement related to the financial statements. We do recognize that you may include the audit report within some other type of document. We just ask that you provide us with printer's proofs prior to issuing. And we at Malden & Jenkins are independent with respect to the city and its financial reporting process. The first graph that we have here related to the financial trends noted during the audit, this is a pie chart of your general fund revenues. As with most local governments, property taxes and sales taxes are always the largest source of revenues for local governments, followed by franchise taxes and insurance premium taxes. But you can see each of the various categories there and the amounts of revenue received in the fiscal year 2023. Your general fund expenditures are listed here by function. City of Douglasville, like all the other governments that we work with, have the majority of their expenditures within the public safety function. $14.25 million was spent on public safety in fiscal year 2023, followed by $10.9 million for general government expenditures, and culture and recreation, just shy of $6 million was spent in the area of culture and recreation. City of Douglasville does a very good job of spending funds in this area to help improve the citizens' lives and their activities. We have a 6-year trend that we're presenting here, noting revenues and expenditures for each of those years. And as you can see, in each of these 6 years, the city's general fund revenues were in excess of expenditures, which is always very important. You don't always see that, but you all were able to hold the line on expenditures and still maintain the level of revenues needed. Your net change in fund balance, I guess that line there is a little misleading. Every year, your change in fund balance has been positive for the past 6 years. 2018 and 2019, around $3.2 million increase in your fund balance. 2020 was about a $323,000 increase. 2021, $6.5 million. 22, $4.67 million. And this past fiscal year, 2023, $2.9 million increase in your fund balance or your equity. Another 6-year trend graph here. As you can see, total expenditures for 2023 were $39.6 million. Your fund balance at June 30, 2023 was $32.1 million. So you actually had 294 days worth of expenditures within your fund balance. So the city has a very strong fund balance as of June 30, 2023. And that's needed to move forward into the coming year. You won't be collecting property taxes from June, well, end of the year is June. You don't collect property taxes until the fall. So that has to cover, a significant amount of your expenditures. But also, you all are a metropolitan city that's growing and expanding and have a lot of needs in the area of capital projects and so forth. And so that fund balance is important to have that as you all continue to grow and expand. Just to make you all aware, there are certain accounting pronouncements every year that the Governmental Accounting Standards Board puts out that can affect the accounting and the financial reporting for local governments. We've had a couple the past few years that were a little bit of a bear, but not just for you all, but for everybody. And we've gotten through those, and it looks like those that are out there on the horizon really won't have much, if any, significance in the accounting and financial reporting. So that is good. But the Governmental Accounting Standard Board is always undergoing or looking at various items, have various projects going on to see what else they can change in the governmental reporting arena. Our firm does offer free quarterly continuing education for our clients, that we're always pleased to include any of you all if you are interested. We also offer advisory services, a whole separate division from the audit division, as well as IT and cybersecurity solutions. So if there's ever anything we can help you all with, please reach out and let us know. We'd love to help you out with that. And with that, I'll be glad to entertain any questions that you have, or if you think of something down the road, you are always welcome to give us a call.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Do we have any questions from council members or finance chair? You have anything?
Okay.
Thank
Thank
you
you all
so
very
much.
much, and I also want to thank the finance department. You all are very fortunate to have such a strong, knowledgeable group running your finances.
Thank you so
very
much.
much.
Ms. Callen does a wonderful job, she and her team. Thank you so very much. We appreciate that. So now we'll move on, after our announcements and presentations, we'll move on to the committees. And so the first committee is Economic Development Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Mayor Pro Tem, City Councilmember Terry Miller.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have no business under the Economic Development Committee at this time.
Thank you so much, Councilman Miller. We'll move on to Finance Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Chris Watts.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have
welcome.
several items tonight. Start with item A, authorize the mayor to sign change order number 9 with Reeves Young LLC for the Jesse Davis Park Improvement Project for the purposes of adding a self-supported operable partition wall and changes to interior wall framing in the community center in the amount of $46,616.85, and Mr. Thompson will handle this.
All right. Marcus Thompson, City Engineer, 6695 Church Street, Douglasville, Georgia, 30134. Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council.
Good evening, Mr. Thompson.
So the item before you, it's pretty straightforward. What we're doing, basically the upgrade replaces a permanent wall that was proposed for the community center that separates two multi-purposes room. We feel as though this partition will be able to maximize the revenue for the facility by basically increasing the flexibility for that space for us to be able to rent it out to anyone that wants a combined or separate space, basically. So, are there any questions or concerns?
Mr. Thompson,
Yes, sir.
will that wall open and close manually or pushing a button?
That's a good question.
I didn't think to ask that
I want to say it's
earlier.
pushing a button.
Okay, so it'll be electrically.
That's
Pretty
correct.
big wall. Madam Mayor, go ahead.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Engineer Thompson. So it's like the accordion kind of walls that we have here in the conference center to have a distinction between places so that you can maximize
Yeah,
the facility.
that's
Okay.
correct. And I think,
They're kind of industrial looking, I mean, they're like, we pool the,
it's sort of similar to the room where we met at the GMA offices. Yeah,
okay,
yeah, so-
yes, sir. I know what you're talking about. All right, thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem, did you have something?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Is there any structural changes that are required to put this wall?
Yes, there are, and it's incorporated in this proposal. We will have to install the truss, like a truss support system. And that's because at first we initially had the structures to support the permanent wall. So that's going from a different
So
system.
you're bracing it off of the roof structure?
What's
Is it
that?
being braced off of the roof structure?
Yes, that's correct, the ceiling.
Okay, and that is accounted for in the pricing, I'm assuming?
Yes, sir.
Just make sure that's one of
And
those,
then we provided more details on
that's one of those
page
issues that
6.
does slip by sometimes is the bracing.
Yeah.
I'll make sure that that got covered. Okay. That's all, Mr. Chair.
Yes. Any questions? Yes, ma'am.
This will come out of the contingency fund for the project, correct?
Oh, yes, that's correct.
And then where will that put us with the remaining amount of the contingency fund?
I'd rather not say. I can get with you.
No worries.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? If it's okay with council, I'd like to place this on the consent agenda for Monday.
Looks good.
Item B, thank you. Well, I guess hang around, Ms. Thompson. Authorize the mayor to sign change order number 20 with Rayland and Associates, Inc. for the Town Green project for the purposes of adding angled bench gaps, providing and installing a gate at the bottom of an exterior stair, raising the existing mechanical unit to allow for return duct clearance, and the addition of an exhaust fan, louver, and thermostat at the electrical room in the amount of $40,391.70, Mr. Thompson.
So yeah, I actually have CPS here to help us out, help me out with presenting the items B and C. So I'll defer to CPS.
Thank you, Marcus.
I'm sorry, name and address for the record, thank you.
Yes, Jacob Adams, 4150 Ashford Dunwoody Road, Brookhaven, Georgia, 30319. Okay, good evening, Madam Mayor,
Good
Council. So we will start off with our presentation for item B, which is change order 20. It is broken up into PCOs 79, 80, and 82. And I'll give you just a brief context behind the PCOs, and I'll open the floor to any questions. So I'll start with PCO 79, which is the added angle at the bench gaps. So this occurred following some feedback from the public after the first concert event regarding the benches that are in the green space at the between the concessions area and the amphitheater stage itself. So these benches have wood slats throughout them, and in particular, there's a wider gap where the back rest meets with the seat. Obviously, that creating that angle, and there was a gap in place, and we had there was a few concerns with individuals that were losing items such as cell phones or wallets in the benches themselves. These benches are enclosed, so there was no easy way to access them. You needed a special tool and device to fish out any items that were lost. The solution that we explored with that was to install an angle piece that would extend the full length of the bench itself, that would almost act as a barrier, so any items that would fall out of any individual's pockets would be braced and stopped by that angle piece, therefore preventing any items from being lost inside of the bench itself. The cost that is associated with the work required was for deconstruction of the bench because the angle piece goes inside the bench itself, the install of that angle piece, and then the reconstruction of the bench to putting it back together.
Go ahead and present all the change orders for
Yes, sir.
this item, and then any questions they can ask afterwards.
Yes, sir. So PCO number 80, this is the gate at the exterior stair at the event space that extends to the second level outdoor patio space. This change came to fruition after review of the fire marshal, and he had made us aware that the stair itself, while deemed as a stair of egress, we did not account for the entrance of that staircase. So in order to avoid potential safety concerns with the public being able to access from the outside of that stair and enter the stair and gain access to the second level of the outdoor patio space. To prevent that from happening, the fire marshal and the design team worked together to come up with a design of recommending that we install a gate that would only account for exiting of that stair. The entrance, this would prevent public from being able to access the entrance during non-working hours, therefore keeping that area blocked off and keeping it safe to the public. The costs associated for the install of that gate would be mainly for labor and material, the materials needed for the gate itself and the install of the gate and the work required for that. For PCO 82, this is the HVAC modifications at the mechanical room. This was also discovered during the walk with the fire marshal. This stemmed from the fire riser being located in the janitor closet, and we ran into some conflicts with clearances required by code that the fire riser had to maintain a certain clearance from the opening itself, 36 inches. The solution that was discovered between the design and the construction team was to relocate the fire riser into mechanical room, which would give us the clearances needed for the fire riser. The conflict came from this solution was that now we did not have feasible access for the return air duct to the air handler itself. So the solution that was proposed and worked through with the design and fire marshal, design team and the fire marshal, was to raise the air handler unit on stilts, so to be, and would allow us to have direct connection to the return air duct from the air handler unit itself. This provided us the connection that we needed and satisfied the condition both for the mechanical unit as well as the fire marshal comments. And the cost associated for that work required was for the HVAC reconstruction and having to remove the ceiling and install the air handler unit, as well as the work required to make that connection for the return air.
So 2 of the 3 of those items are response to the fire marshal.
Yes, sir.
Being able to sign off on that, and then one of them was more or less a response to the public.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any questions or comments by anybody? Yes, ma'am. Madam Mayor.
do. Thank you so much. Thank you for the report. You were very thorough.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you all not, has anyone had the benches before and had that complaint? Or we're the first to have the slight incline and have those concerns with people's iPads or, telephones or whatever while it's falling down and in the crack?
Right, and I believe it was more so a trial and error by case, right? We weren't aware with the selection of the benches that that was presented to design team and approved as the appropriate material to be used. We found out after the first event that the actual the gap that was accommodated on that end piece happened to be greater than I think was assumed, and the lost products were accessible. You're able to retrieve them. It was just done so we wanted to provide a solution that would be more convenient and accommodating towards the public, so that we wouldn't have to fish out, so to speak, the items.
Yeah, so I understand. I guess you don't know it until you know. So
Yes, ma'am.
they were just on an incline or just leaning back, and it's like your cell phone falling in between the seat of your car.
Yes, ma'am.
Trying to find it. Okay. So that was that one. And the other ones from the fire marshal, they didn't sign off on all of those concerns before, like the stairs and?
So the fire marshal gave us a temporary certificate of occupancy.
Okay, yeah, because we were trying to open.
Right. And these items needed to be closed out and signed off on and achieved in order to obtain our final CO for occupancy. Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
I understand now. So I know we had so many rain days last year, and we were trying to push to get the concerts done because we had already booked the artist. And so it was a temporary CO, and now with a permanent CO, we find these issues that are not quite up to the standard that the fire marshal would want.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other questions? Yes, Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Would the fire marshal not mention anything about requiring to have a riser room for the fire lines?
Sorry, sir?
Were you not required to have a riser room, a separate riser room? rated
No,
riser
no,
room?
sir. You just had to maintain the 36-inch clearance from the entryway to the fire riser itself. Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm surprised that he didn't bring that up. Yeah, I've encountered in the past where you just simply, they just say, put it in its own space, basically, rather than,
Council, I don't think that the facility is large enough for it to have, there's nothing other there than the pipe, the riser itself. Typically, and I know exactly what you're referring to, there's usually a riser room that handles all of the equipment for the fire equipment. But for this particular building, I think it's small enough
doubled
to
the
where,
size.
as long as the clearances were there, that,
Okay.
that's all that was needed.
when the fire marshal gives you an okay, you don't argue with him, I guess.
Right, and this location, once relocated, was obviously reviewed and approved with the fire marshal.
You
and he
don't say,
signed off.
no, I want to do more than that, more than you required.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, all right, it looks fine then, okay. Appreciate that, thank you.
Yes, sir.
That's all.
Yes, Councilman Davis.
So you stated that we had a temporary approval to open,
Yes, sir.
and no one gave us aware that brought this to our attention, that the findings that they found during the temporary until now. So, so you all knew that ahead of time about what was needed to be done?
So, sir, when we did the final inspections with the fire marshal, these items were annotated as things that needed to be cleared up. So we've taken the last months to work with the design team as well as the construction contractor to come up with the final solution. So there was actual design work that needed to be done, which took us a while to get figured out. And then we had to negotiate with the contractor to figure out what it was going to cost to make the changes that needed to be done. And we're just finalizing putting those in place. So, and we've been working with the fire marshal throughout. So he annotated them on the temporary certificate of occupancy to allow us to go and be able to occupy the facility, knowing that these things needed to be completed in order for us to get our final CO. So we've just been working on them all this time to be able to get them finalized. And we're just about done with everything now as we continue to move forward.
So are there any other unseen, you talking about the benches, or is there anything else coming for us?
So no, these are the only outstanding items. The items that we're talking about tonight are the ones that should allow us to have the final certificate signed off by the fire marshal.
Okay.
Any other questions? Yes, Madam Mayor?
Apologize, I have one other question. This is for clarity. So the stairs, we need a gate there because right now, this accessible to people that can walk up those stairs and get on that patio, and it's not safe for them to be on the patio, not, attended or accompanied with someone. We don't want anyone to have an accident, a fall or whatever, and so we didn't have a gate there before, but now we're going to have a gate that's only accessible by staff or someone.
Yes, ma'am. And currently, right now, the contractor does have, they do have precautions in place
Yes.
to prevent that area from being accessible. So until the work is completed and closed out, that area will be kept off from the public so no one can enter that way and
Yes,
potentially
sir.
be in an unsafe situation. Yes,
I
ma'am.
saw it on Tuesdays. It's all fenced in. So, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes,
Any-
I have one
Yes,
more.
sir, Mr. Davis.
Since you're saying a gate so no one can gain interest in there, I've been seeing people, do we need a gate so no one will get up on the stage? I seen them up there doing some activities and jumping off the stage. So is there a gate we need to put up, keep people from playing on the stage, kids from playing on the stage and jumping off?
I think the stage is open.
Yeah, you can't.
Yeah, the
You can
stage
climb-
is
You can climb
open.
up there, just,
You can climb up.
And we've had communications with the city about appropriate signage,
Right.
just to showcase the area and the concerns and to make that aware, just so that it's not a fully open area. But if that continues to be a concern, we are willing to to have those conversations as needed. But signage right now has been, I know has been a discussion on site of putting some type of signage on the stage.
Any other questions? Just one question for Mr. Thompson. Do we need to take a look at our signage like we're talking about for the stage? And do we have signage up about skateboarders and things like that?
I'm not sure exactly about skateboarding. I know we have signage, for example, for people not to touch like electrical
Right.
boxes or things of that nature. But for skating, I'm not sure, but it's something I can look into.
It's
Okay.
probably wise to do skateboards and bikes and all of that.
Yeah, it's only a matter of time. If they can get up on the stage, it's only a
Well,
matter of time before some skateboarder decides. he's
Well,
gonna-
it's a matter of time, but I've seen one Sunday, I took a picture of a motorcycle out in the green area. So I took a picture of it.
Yeah,
And so we probably need some signage.
yeah.
I can look
All right.
I can
Thank
look into
you.
that for you.
Appreciate it. I know y'all not going to go far because we got another one coming up here. Item B, is everybody okay with that item making it to the consent agenda? Okay. Item C, authorize the mayor to sign change order number 21 with Rayland and Associates, Inc. for the Town Green project for the purpose of modifications to the stairs located behind the stage as required by the fire marshal in the amount of $39,807.42. Yes, sir, you go right ahead.
Thank you,
Name
Councilman.
and address again, I'm sorry, just,
That's fine. Jacob Adams, 4150 Ashford Dunwoody Road, Brookhaven, Georgia, 30319. So this change order will consist of only one PCO number 81. As Councilman had mentioned, this was had also arose following the fire marshal walk, and we view this as an emergency egress area. The primary concern for the current design in place was that the stair design potentially would not be safe from an emergency egress standpoint. If you look at the images that should be provided on the attachment, it outlines it a little bit easier. So the original design had 3 separate bays of stairs. If you look at the image flowing from left to right, you will see that the bottom stair tread begins to terminate as the slope of the sidewalk increases from left to right. This was taking place with each of the stairs. As you flowed from left to right, the slope would decrease further and further and further, therefore creating uneven counts of stairs from the left to the right side. The fire marshal's concern was that in the event of emergency and if individuals were exiting, there could be potential trip hazards associated with the uneven stairs in place. We coordinated very, very closely with the design team and the fire marshal to discuss appropriate measures to be taken place to solve this, to come up with a solution. And the solution that was discovered was to install a planter system that would take up the 2 bays of stairs and would terminate. We would demo those stairs, install the planter, and would only have access to the far left bay of stairs, which would also create not as steep of a slope for the bottom stair tread, which would allow for easier access and a less of a trip hazard in the event of an emergency. The cost for this change consisted obviously of the demolition of the 2 stair bays and the additional material required for that planter and the construction that was set to take place for the stair modification.
and it looks like you still have access to the sidewalk over to the right of the planter.
Yes, sir.
Either way. Questions? They got this picture in here for the 6 o'clock meeting, and it shows it a lot better. Anybody? Comments? Yeah. Okay, we're going to put that one on consent agenda. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Appreciate it,
Thank you.
y'all.
Thanks.
All right, item D, authorize the mayor to sign task order number 32, proposal with AECom Technical Services, Inc., for the Blairs Bridge Road, Bob Arnold Boulevard, Thornton Road, State Road 6 corridor, traffic analysis in the amount of $31,205, and Mr. Thompson has this one also.
So the goal of the proposal before you tonight, this evening, is basically to evaluate improve traffic operations for the Thornton Road and Blairs Bridge Road intersections, in addition to the intersection of Bob Arnold and Blairs Bridge Road. Considering the mix of heavy truck and residential traffic, the proposal discusses various evaluation options, including traffic control changes at key intersections, queuing analysis, and access management improvements. A significant phase for this project is the data collection, which involves turn movement counts, queuing data, and it would help AECOM basically be able to put together their recommendations along with cost estimates for how we can improve those intersections. Deliverables for this project include a memorandum with sketches and a cost summary table, leading to a final report with AECOM's recommendation. And then the project is expected to take approximately 8 weeks. Pending unforeseen conditions. Are there any questions or concerns? And this is adjacent to the racetrack off of Thornton Road, just to give you some clarity of the
Mr.
location.
Thompson pointed out to me earlier that, that there may be some issues that AECOM will look at with a lot of truckers or parking in that area and places that might be deemed, well, we'll see when they get through with their traffic analysis. But they'll be looking at that too. Any questions or comments about this particular item? No? Yes, sir, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm wondering how many possible solutions they could possibly come up with other than simply widening the road or putting in.
One I know we've been discussing internally is possibly creating like a right-in, right-out near the Bob Arnold and Blairs Bridge Road intersection, so that it'll make it difficult for those truck trailers trying to make a left-hand turn. I'll defer to Greg. I don't know if you have any more details you want to.
I apologize. I don't know that I have anything to add to it, but we have residents that live in the Sweetwater subdivision over there, and there's several apartment units in there, and actually there's several apartment units over there. And so the city is responsible for that little tip-in section of the street, and we will be communicating with the county on whatever plans they have for the ultimate rest of that street back to the westbound toward Lee Road, Montier Boulevard, and all of that. But we're dealing with issues now, particularly at Bob Arnold and Blairs Bridge and it's left turns. It's all left turns. Left turns coming out of the car dealership, left turns going westbound on Blairs Bridge onto Bob Arnold. It's left turns off of Bob Arnold. And so AECOM is going to look at some initial less costly things to help more immediately, while we probably communicate with Douglas County and maybe combine with them on maybe a bigger project. And if they're not doing a bigger project in the next 5 years, it may be that we have to do a bigger project, at least on our end. If you hadn't gotten the pleasure, you can do that anytime 7 a.m. to about 9 a.m. and then anytime after 2 p.m. to right now. It's probably busy right now.
It sounds like the long-term solution might end up being a medial strip down the center.
That probably would be a project a little more extended. We're just looking for some things now that could help sort of calm it. And I wouldn't want to speculate here. There are things that we talked to AECOM about, but I wouldn't want to throw those out there here because that may not be what they come back with, and that may be the one thing that sticks with
I wouldn't want
someone.
to prejudice their study,
Yeah,
but I can predict it.
yeah, and so, but there is, something has to be done more immediately, and I think AECOM can help us with that. I know they can.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments, Madam Mayor?
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to thank Mr. Roberts and Mr. Thompson for staff for taking this position. I know we talked about it, and I mentioned to Mr. Gregg about the congestion and traffic, and there were some concerns and complaints from the community. So thank you all so much for following up and bringing the report back to us. I look forward to see what AECom is going to recommend, and what they'll do. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, ma'am. Any other questions or comments from anyone? I'd like to place this on the consent agenda also for Monday. Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Appreciate it. Item E, authorization of the bylaws proposed to be adopted by the TAD Advisory Committee for the city's tax allocation district number 1, downtown and north side, and Ms. Callen.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Karen Callen, Assistant City Manager and CFO for the City of Douglasville. And I'm going to tee this up for Carlos Encinas. He is our attorney that we've been working with on this project. He is with Ackerman. I think you might remember him. He presented at our strategic planning session. But if you'll recall, in 2018, we went to the voters and asked, could we have a tax allocation district? They approved it. In 2019, on August 13th, we had a public hearing. And then we filed the tax parcels with the Department of Revenue, the State Department of Revenue, and since then, we have been collecting funds for that. So we've been working on the bylaws and the advisory committee for the past 6 to 8 months, and we are to a final point, and Carlos will present those to you.
Thank you, Ms. Callen. Any questions or comments from Mayor or Council? Thank you. We will, go ahead. Do you have something on this?
Yeah, I'm just going to supplement what Karen began to discuss. My name is Carlos Encinas. I'm with the law firm Ackerman LLP, based out of Atlanta. So the first document we're asking you to approve, TAD document we're asking you to approve today, are the bylaws that will govern how the TAD Advisory Committee, which is being established for the downtown and north side TAD, will function. Since the Douglas County School District and the Douglas County Board of Commissioners each consented to pledge their respective property tax increment for the city's TAD, each negotiated an IGA with the city for that purpose. Under the terms of that IGA, the city agreed, among other things, to establish a 5-member TAD advisory committee, which consists of 3 city appointees, which the council previously appointed already recently, 1 county appointee, and 1 school district appointee. The purpose of the TAD advisory committee is to advise and assist the city and the city council in carrying out its responsibilities for the TAD. And I'll detail a little bit further what that means in connection with the next document we'll ask you to authorize or put on the agenda. The TAD Advisory Committee will also monitor the status of the TAD and review and comment upon proposed uses of TAD funds. The bylaws cover routine things such as how meetings for the TAD Advisory Committee will proceed, the length of appointments to the TAD Advisory Committee, etc. Per these proposed bylaws, the TAD Advisory Committee will meet at least quarterly unless there is no new business for the TAD Advisory Committee to review. Any questions?
Thank you. Questions or comments? Okay. I'm going to go ahead and place this item on the consent agenda also. And item F is related, authorization of updated TAD policy and procedures for the city's tax allocation district number 1, downtown and north side.
Thank you. Yeah, as you just mentioned, the second TAD document is an updated version of the city's TAD policy and procedures. For short, I'll be referring to it as the TAD policy. I believe the original version of this document was previously approved by the city in 2019. The TAD policy includes all the information required for a TAD funding application and describes the city's overall process for evaluating applications and guidelines for the city's review of TAD funding applications. We are proposing this updated version of the TAD policy since, together with city staff, we've recently revamped this document to make it more digestible and user-friendly, and also to streamline the approval process a bit. Since there were some redundant steps previously. Under the updated TAD policy, anytime someone is interested in applying for TAD funds, there is a 5-step process involved, and although that seems like a lot, that is actually much more streamlined than it was previously. So the first step is an initial brief questionnaire that the party is asked to submit. This step is limited to preliminarily reviewing the project's consistency with the city's TAD policy, and also estimating the upper limit of eligible project assistance. After this initial review, if both the prospect and the city wish to proceed, the city manager will advise the city manager's office rather, will advise the prospect to complete the city's TAD application. This application is significantly more involved than the initial questionnaire and is included as attachment B to the TAD policy. Third, the city will evaluate a submitted application, and if it's deemed to be a potential TAD project, will proceed with preparing and negotiating a TAD development agreement and/or financing agreements with the developer. Fourth, once draft documents are completed and negotiated with the developer, the city manager's office will schedule a date and time for the city's TAD advisory committee to meet and consider the project. Once the TAD advisory committee's review is completed, the city manager will direct any changes it deems necessary based on the TAD advisory committee's feedback and forward the updated draft development agreements along with a written record of the TAD advisory committee's findings to the city council. As the fifth and final step, the applicant will be asked to present the project, details of the project, and funding request to the city council. The city council will also consider the TAD advisory committee's recommendations and proceed to final consideration and a vote to execute relevant agreements with the applicant. Any questions?
Questions or comments? Anyone? All right. Well, thank you for the presentation. And we're going to place this on the consent agenda also for Monday. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, Finance Committee has run out of the alphabet. We're done.
I know. Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. We'll move on then to the next committee, which is Housing and Community Affairs Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Howard Estes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We
You're
have
welcome.
one item this evening.
Yes, sir.
Adopt a resolution regarding the city's Georgia Initiative for Community Housing Letter of Support for the 2024 application year, and a staff report regarding the 2024 team roster and intent to apply for alumni status. And we will hear from Ms. Shayla Reed.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Shayla Reed, Community Development Director, 6695 Church Street. So before you, we have information regarding the Georgia Initiative of Community Housing Program. As you know, we are an alumni participant, and every 2 to 3 years, we must renew that application. So we are asking of 3 things from you today. One, we are looking forward to reapplying as an alumni through that application. And then secondly, looking at the timeline that's in the resolution, so that if you approve that, we will supply that over with an application to show how when those particular letters of low-income housing tax credits, letters of support are requested to the city, those are the points we are using in their application to provide those confirmations of support. And then lastly, we're looking to ask for your confirmation of those who we've chosen in our housing team to help us with those applications. So those are the 3 things within that item, and we're asking for your support in that. Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions or comments? Madam Mayor?
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Director Reed, for the report. We're excited as we are alumni status for GIC. And I'm jumping the gun, do we know, or the committee will let us know what area that we will apply for a GIC if we decide to do that in the community?
So we don't yet have that information
Okay.
before us. I know in the past, we've heavily used it in Ward 3 a lot because those are
Yes.
some areas that have needed the assistance. And so we are continuing to push in that area or any other area that is needing that type of assistance for rehab or anything of that nature.
Okay, so I know the last street was, I think, Thompson Street or
Yes,
in that
ma'am.
area. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Sure
ma'am.
thing. Anyone else? I mean, just quickly, this team that you have listed here is impressive.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, that's an incredible group of people, so I am thrilled to see that. If we have no objections, then I would like to place this on the consent agenda for Monday. Okay, looks like that we are good to go.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, that's all we have tonight. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Councilman Estes and Director Reed. We appreciate the report. We'll move on then to Legislative and Intergovernmental Committee. That's chaired by Mayor Pro Tem, Councilmember Terry Miller.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have
You're
two
welcome.
items under the Legislative and Intergovernmental Committee tonight.
Yes, sir.
And the first is to adopt an ordinance to amend Section 6.30 of the Charter for the City of Douglasville to revise provisions for authorizing contracts. And, the City Council's counsel, Jordan, will fill us in on it.
Good evening, Madam Mayor,
Good
Mayor Pro
evening.
Tem and Council. Miranda Jordan, Staff Attorney, 6695 Church Street. The first item, item A, is in regards to our charter. For a charter amendment, we do have to adopt the amendment at 2 council meetings. So this will be presented at our meeting at the end of the month on April 1st as well. So the first adoption of this item is to change the amount of the signing authority for the city manager to sign contracts and invoices on behalf of the city. The charter change will actually take out the set amount that is in there currently and will change the language to obligation does not exceed an amount as set forth by the City of Douglasville Code of Ordinances. And that way, if in the future that amount needs to change, it would only have to change in the ordinance and not in the charter as well, which requires an extra step for that being adopted at 2 different meetings.
Thank you, Madam Council. Do you have any questions or comments from City Council or Madam Mayor?
No, sir.
And I think as you explained to me, we do not have to go to the state legislature for this charter change because we're using a 2-step meeting process.
Yes, and only certain measures under the charter amendments would have to go before the state legislature as a local act.
Okay, and this further simplifies that process by putting it into the city code of ordinances. Okay, thank you. If there's no objection, I'd like to place item A under the
Consent.
consent agenda. Thank you. Let me go. Brain spasm for a moment. Okay, well, as moved. The second item is to amend the City of Douglasville Code of Ordinances, Section 70-41, to provide for a senior rate of sanitation services, to repeal conflicting ordinances, and for other such purposes. Ms. Jordan?
So section 70-41 is shown on your agenda item attachment in 2 formats. One is showing the red line version where changes have been removed and added accordingly. And then if you scroll down on the attachment, the clean version is at the end on the last 2 pages. This will establish a senior rate for those that are over the age of 64. And the ordinance will explain the new requirements to satisfy an application for that, including the documentation that a citizen must show to achieve a senior rate for being over the age of 64.
And how will we set the senior rate? Is that something we'll have to revisit every so often, or is that?
All of the rates are set from time to time by the mayor and council.
Okay. But we're not establishing that rate in this ordinance change here, are we? Are we going to have to come back and decide what that rate will be?
Yes, if Madam Mayor and council would determine that they wanted to make a change to the current rate for the standard rate and then also for the senior rate, then that could be addressed at a different time.
This simply allows us to do that.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments from Madam Mayor or the council? No.
I have
Yeah,
one.
Mr. Davis.
Yes, right now, the senior rate is, what is the senior rate now?
I believe we established that it was $10 per month.
That would be a question for Mr. Roberts or Ms. Dickinson. It's $10. He's shaking his head. It's $10.
Yes, yes, sir.
Repeat again, Ms. Miranda.
The senior rate for those over the age of 64 is $10 a month currently.
You have to apply once we,
That's right. You would apply, the individuals would apply with public services.
all right. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Any other questions or comments? If there's no objective, I'd like to place this one also on the consent agenda. All right, thank you, Madam Mayor. That is all we have under the Legislative and Intergovernmental Committee at this time.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem and Attorney Jordan. We'll move on then to the next committee, which is Personnel and Organization Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Howard Estes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The Personnel and Organization Committee has no business this evening.
Thank you, sir. We'll move on then to Planning and Development Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Nicole Miller.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
You're welcome.
We do have a couple of items this evening. And the first is to hold a public hearing and consider a request for a special land use permit for fabricated metal products manufacturing for property zoned light industrial, being 41.83 acres at 1401 Blair's Bridge Road and Land Lot 675, District 18, Section 2, parcel ID 067518200001. Application by, it says Dexter Companies, thank you, care of Blake Dexter, and we've got Miss Marissa Jackson down here to talk to us about this.
Good evening, Marissa Jackson.
Good evening.
Planning and Zoning Administrator, 6695 Church Street. This item that you have before you today is a request for a special land use permit. The site is zoned light industrial, and according to the Unified Development Ordinance, fabricated metal manufacturing in the light industrial district requires a special land use permit. So that's the applicant that we have before us. The applicant is not proposing new construction at this time. There's an existing business on Blair's Bridge Road that is vacating, and the applicant would like to go and move their business into the existing building.
Thank you, ma'am. Council, did you guys have any questions of Ms. Jackson before we move? Yes, Mr. Estes?
Just quickly, so the SLUP is required for the overall business and not just for the aluminum anodizing portion of it?
It's required for the aluminum anodizing
Okay,
portion of it.
that's what I thought. I just wanted to make sure I understood before. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. If there were not any more questions of council, let's go ahead and open up the public hearing. If we have anyone in the audience that would like to speak either for or against this item, if you'll come up, state your name and address for the record, please.
Yeah, thank you. Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
My name is Penn McClatchy. I'm the CEO of Southern Aluminum Finishing. We go to market as SAF. We are a 78-year-old family business, and we've been headquartered in downtown Atlanta since 1946. We're moving our headquarters to Blair's Bridge Road, in addition to the fabrication and finishing capability. And we're bringing 65 jobs with us. So we've had a plant. My office is at 14100 Veterans Memorial. We've had a plant in the Winston community since 2003, and everything has just been easier for us in Douglas County compared to the city of Atlanta. We really appreciate all that the county has to offer, and we're looking forward to being part of the city now soon. The company was founded by my father in 1946. I've been the CEO for the last 8 years. I had an older brother that was CEO for 20 years before us. We have 6 locations in Georgia, Tennessee, Texas, California, and Indiana, 220 employees now total. We're a service center, a metal service center to the commercial construction industry. And we're looking forward to being part of Douglasville. I want to give a shout out to Breezy Stratton, and she's done a great job of making you guys easy to work with, and Stephen Howard with the Water and Sewer Authority. They've made us feel like a valued member of the community. And this is a enormous project for our company, probably the biggest thing we've done in at least 10 years since we opened up a plant in California. So the next couple of years are going to be exciting, and I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And of course, I love hearing about the good experiences working within the community. And of course, excited to have new growing businesses in our community. Yes, Mr. Miller?
Can you describe it, what it is your company does?
We supply building products and also just stock metal like sheet and extrusions to trade contractors. We don't do any installation. We're just a metal service center to trade contractors, mainly commercial construction. And I believe we put some metal on this building.
Oh, okay.
So we do a little bit of metal in lots and lots of projects.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Madam Mayor.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. Thank you and welcome to Douglasville. We are so excited that you've chosen to expand your business in our community, and it's wonderful that you have a family business and continuing that legacy. And this is part of course, which Breezy knows, and our CEO of Development Authority, and Elevate Douglas is manufacturing and all of that. So we're excited to have you come into the city of Douglasville. So thank you for choosing us.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We're looking forward to it.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. And I noticed when I was looking at the maps that, and just for clarification, Councilman Hudson, this is situated right there on Blair's Bridge, so their neighbors are like businesses. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, you guys will be able to fit into the building that's currently there, right? I think you might have to make some adjustments to the interior of that building, but you're not trying to add on anything to the outside of that building to grow at this time.
That's right. We're not
Okay.
planning on changing the footprint of the building. We're not going to change the walls. We do plan to apply for a permit for some improvements inside the building.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so very much.
All right.
Was there anyone else out there that had anything to say for or against this business? If not, then I'm going to go ahead and close this public hearing at this time. Yes, Councilman Estes.
I just want to say, I mean, this is in my ward. So I had a conversation with Breezy about this recently. And I would just like to repeat what the mayor says and welcome to Douglasville. We're glad to have you and your jobs especially. So thank you.
Thank you for that. Yes.
Also, on top of that, I like it when businesses come and they use a building that's already there. So
Yes.
appreciate that also. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, it's really perfect for what we're trying to accomplish too. So.
Beautiful. Good. I'm glad to hear that. Okay. Well, if there's nothing else, then we will take this item up on Monday. All right. Moving along, guys. We're going to have another public hearing. This is says to hold a public hearing and consider a request for a change in zoning from general commercial county to general commercial city for 0.82 acres at 11941 Veterans Memorial Highway and Land Lot 744, District 18, Section 2, parcel ID 0744180. I'm sorry, let me try that again. So many little numbers. 07441820013. And the application is by Mickey Kapoor, and we've got Miss Marissa Jackson to talk to us about this item as well.
Hello. Items B, C, and D are interrelated. Starting with item B is the request for rezoning. It's part of an annexation. The parcel that's currently in the county is zoned the county's equivalent version of general commercial, and the applicant is requesting a general commercial zoning on this parcel. The applicant is proposing to construct a gas station with a convenience store. Planning Commission recommended approval of the request at their meeting last week.
Thank you so much. And for, just point of reference, this is the old Burgers Market, if anyone was wondering. Council, did you guys have any questions of Ms. Jackson before we had this public hearing? Yes, Councilman Estes?
Looking at one of the maps, I'm assuming that this is to combine an existing city parcel with the
Yes.
part
that-
from the county?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, because I was trying to figure out why the need for
Yes. Yeah, so
annexation and
either-
rezoning.
Right, so either they would have to annex part of it into the
Or
city or
de-annex the
our
other part.
Correct.
Okay,
Yes.
I get it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Yes, Madam Mayor?
And I was just wondering if it was okay with you and Councilmember Hudson, it's in your ward, if you guys are
So,
looking at
of course, I think we had the talks about it earlier. I know myself, this is a side of town, of course, I'll always miss the Burgers Market.
I
But right now,
know.
that area is very sad, and it
Yes,
does
it
need
needs
some love. And the renderings actually look very nice. I will say that. Councilwoman Hudson, did you have anything to add?
Thank you, Councilwoman Miller. No, not at this time. Also, looking at the renderings, I'm very pleased with what we're seeing so far. And to your point with the area too, I'm excited to see some development spurring in that area. I remember going to the Burgers Market as a little girl to get flowers with my mom growing up. So nonetheless, and now that we're doing something new with the space and revitalizing it, I'm excited to work with you guys to get something good for the community.
Perfect. And Madam Mayor, I mean, it's in
Is
your
it
ward
Teddy's?
too.
I know. Is it Teddy's? Is that going to be the
Yes.
name of the gas station? If you don't mind coming forward, applicant. I've never heard of Teddy's before. It'll be something new, huh?
Perfect.
If you can give us your name and address, please.
Good evening, Madam Mayor
Good
and council
evening.
members. My name is Karan Ahuja, and my address is 325 Crooked Stick Drive, Alpharetta, Georgia, 30004. So this is a family-run franchise, Teddy's Market. Actually, we started working on this franchise last year. Our first location is coming first week of May in Canton, Georgia. Following that, our second location is in Ball Ground, Georgia. That is opening around July. This will be hopefully our fourth or fifth location. We already have upcoming projects in Douglasville, Dawsonville, and we're looking at another one in Marietta. So this is, like I said, it's family run. We have two aspects to our business. One aspect is retail, convenience store. The other aspect is daycares. It's three brothers. It's me, my brother sitting back there, and the one who runs the daycare is not here today.
Okay.
So just a little background on our operations and ourselves as a family business. We have been in the convenience store business for almost 15, 20 years. Started off just working at a store. Not me, my brother there, he runs the operations. I just look at the accounting, financial side, banking side of the business. On the daycare side, we've been in the daycare business for 8 odd years. We have been very successful in the daycare business doing a franchise model. We have competed against franchises like Goddard, Kids Are Kids. Our franchise is now expanding. I'm just comparing the daycare so you guys can also understand why we're franchising our gas stations as we are. We have now 8 locations in northern suburb Atlanta by the name Chroma Early Learning Academy. This being a family-run business, we have been able to provide our services at a steep discount compared to the more corporate giants. So hence we get a lot more foot traffic, and we've been successful in that way. Similar to this, with Teddy's Market, it's kind of like a similar project. We have good relation with vendors. We have good relation with all around in terms of convenience store business. We're able to work out purchases and cost of our goods in a way that we have a wholesale price that we can buy them and they can sell for a reasonably good price. So just comparing why we decided to put a franchise to it and put a nice branding model on it. This hopefully first time working with the city of Douglasville. I have had great experiences working with cities before, and hopefully we can, I really apologize for the memories you made with the burgers, and I hope we can make new memories with you guys, hopefully you guys can, sometimes say that you have good memory of coming to this store, hopefully. One thing I always point out at any of the hearings, that we are operators. We're not just looking to invest and sell for profit. I mean, of course, we work in a model that we are investing money, and we have to justify, the means have to justify the ends, but we do stay, we operate, we run, and we take pride in what we run. Our gas stations, our convenience store, I have worked extensively with graphic designers, vendors, grocery companies to build a model that would probably rival the best in the business right now, And our designs are inspired from vibrant, colorful vibe, very kid-friendly. We really, really want families to be able to come comfortably, use clean convenience store, clean bathrooms. We have a concept of fresh vegetables, fresh deli. Our deli is going to be a big part of our convenience store business. We have a partnership with Chester's Chicken, that we do freshly breaded chicken, sandwiches, biscuits, or even the hot case, we strategically have a small, I'm sorry if I'm going too much into the business, I'm very passionate about it, we have a small hot case to be able to serve fresh food as much as we can, and that I'm hoping to work with the city on this, and any questions you have for me, I'm open to answer.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
very much.
This is Legacy Family Night. That's good. That's a second family business.
Council?
Thank you. I would like to echo my colleague in complimenting you on the design of the store. You're definitely moving away from the traditional convenience store look. You've got some nice elements. It kind of has more of a characteristic of, LA or somewhere along the coast.
Thank you.
A little more sophisticated than.
Yeah, we recently presented in Hall County as well, and they were similarly very, very happy. Luckily, we had a bigger parcel, so we were able to convert our retention pod into a recreation area in that case. But even in this case, if you see the renderings, we are very heavy on the landscaping, sitting areas, anywhere we can provide balcony. I feel it's good for business if people can come sit, relax, have a time, have a coffee, be on their way, But that's the model I'm trying to look for to build this brand up.
What the architects call the fourth space, you're providing that, which is not, in a sense, it does kind of return to the old style general store. You think about, you go back enough decades, gas stations were general stores where people did hang out.
Yeah.
And they got away from that in the post-war period, and now we're sort of returning to that. QT and Racetrack have kind of rediscovered that to a certain extent, and those are your main competitors, and you clearly are taking them on. And
yeah, we do not shy away from competition from QT or Racetrack, but we do also want to be in a place where we can serve with the reasonable competition. We don't want to be overdoing. Because, I have done my feasibility, run my reports, driven around the areas. I have gone to each gas station in that area, and I don't see competition, not yet at least. Just another couple things. This will, from perspective of cost, we're looking to invest around close to 4.5 to 5 million in this project in total. Hopefully bringing a lot of good traffic and good food, good vibes.
Okay. Thank you so very much. And thank you for taking the time to tell us about your family business.
Oh, thank you so much.
That's awesome. Well, at this time, guys, we're going to go ahead and open that public hearing. So if we have anyone here who would like to speak for or against this item, if you'll come on down. And since we have no takers, we're going to move along and close this public hearing. Council, did you guys have anything else? Just want to make sure. Okay, well, in that case, then we will take this item up on Monday. Sorry, we're going to update one more time. Okay, guys, and then this next item here, we are going to hold another public hearing, this time to consider a request for a variance from Section 4.08 of the Unified Development Ordinance to reduce the minimum rear yard setback from 50 feet to 25 feet, and a variance to allow the canopy accessory structure to be placed at 30 feet in the front yard setback on Veterans Memorial Highway in Land Lot 744, District 18, Section 2, Parcel ID 074418200013. And 074418200018. Application by Mickey Kapoor, and Miss Marissa Jackson is down here to talk to us about this one as well.
Hello again. This item C is related to items B and D. This is a variance request. We'll start with the front yard. The Unified Development Ordinance notes that in the front yard adjacent to a major thoroughfare, the minimum front yard is 50 feet. The applicant is requesting a variance to reduce the minimum front yard to 30 feet to allow the gas station canopy to be placed at 30 feet in the front yard. The applicant is also requesting a variance to reduce the minimum rear yard adjacent to residential. According to the Unified Development Ordinance, again, the minimum rear yard is 50 feet. Planning Commission heard this public hearing earlier this month, and we had requested a variance to reduce the rear yard by 25 feet. Planning Commission recommended denial of both variance requests. Since then, we've spoken to the applicant. They've requested to change the minimum rear yard variance to 40 feet. So then it would just be requesting a 10-foot variance instead of the previously discussed 25.
Okay, thank you. Council, do you guys have questions of, yes, Councilman Estes?
I just want to make sure I understand. So in the rear, it's a 10-foot variance requested, but at the front, it's still a 20-foot?
Yes.
And yet, the variance would be just for the canopy, not for the pumps or anything?
Yes.
So the pumps are going to be set back how much farther behind the edge of the canopy?
That's a question for the applicant. I would
Okay.
have to look at the site plan again.
Thanks, Marissa. Good evening,
Good
Madam
evening.
Mayor and Council. Alex Vaughton, Southeast Civil Group, 8665 Baldwin Parkway. I'm the engineer that's helping with the land planning for this project, and I think Karan did a really good job of explaining what the product is that he's trying to deliver. I wanted to be here just to provide a little bit of clarification on the variance requests so that y'all knew exactly why he's asking for these variances.
Thank you.
For starters, there's a few variances here, and it's pretty important that these variances be considered separately from each other. The first one, the canopy is considered an accessory structure. So anything like a shed or anything like that. So the code, the ordinance requires that accessory structures be in the backyard, okay? For this business model and for a canopy, a gas station, it has to be in the front yard. That's where cars are pulling into and everything, so it can't be around back. So that's why that's one very crucial reason why it needs to be considered separately. You know, because there's certain aspects about it that need to be weighted heavier. Also, with regard to the canopy, the building setback in the front is related to the principal building setback, that 50-foot building setback. The accessory structure, it just says in the code, not permitted in the front yard. So our request is that it be permitted. And then we said, we'll even give it a 30-foot setback so that you know it has something that it's adhering to. Hopefully that helps to clarify some.
Yes, that does. Thank you.
It's going to look very nice, it seems like.
Yeah,
I agree.
thank you. That's all I have.
Absolutely.
I just had a quick question, Councilwoman Miller. I know there's some signage advertising this setback to residents, or have we heard anything from the residents in that area about how they feel?
You're correct. We did post some signage. We haven't had any feedback from residents at City Hall via phone or email about it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Axon. I will say, before we go on to the public hearing, I was going to say, it's my understanding that we have spoken with fire, with police, and engineers, and they see no issues with that front canopy setback as far as safety and all. I just wanted to let that known so that for any listening public that may be concerned about that.
That
that's
is
not an
correct.
issue.
As part of our process, we have pre-application meetings, and we send the site plans and things to lots of different departments, fire, police, engineering, and everyone has reviewed the request, and there weren't any safety issues identified regarding the canopy.
Okay, okay. And then moving on to that rear setback, I will say that this is the one that I do have somewhat of an issue with, because you have houses directly behind it. And although I know that we have a 15-foot buffer and a 8-foot fence, I know in wintertime right now, if you look in my backyard, I'm on 1.5 acres, and I can see the house behind me still because the trees are bare. And I want to be very mindful of those residents that are not used to this caliber of traffic that they'll be getting. But I'm very curious to what the rest of council feels like as far as that rear buffer setback goes.
I agree with you with it being in our ward. I want to pay special attention to make sure that they don't feel anything. I don't know if we've looked at maybe some different landscaping to kind of make what would be I don't want to call it a barricade, but a buffer.
Well, it's an 8-foot opaque fence,
Mhm.
and then 15 foot of,
Vegetative buffer. Yeah. The ordinance says that adjacent to residential, we're allowed to do a 15-foot vegetative buffer and an 8-foot opaque fence. We can request specific types of vegetation sometimes that would be green year-round. That is another option to request so that it creates a more opaque screen
okay.
for the
I
vegetative
definitely,
buffer.
I definitely like that idea. Again, I'd like to hear from the rest of council, because I feel like those buffer minimums are there for a reason to help protect the residents, and I don't want to destroy their livelihood, not in their homes, of all places. Yes, sir.
Good evening, again.
If you'll just
we-
state your name and address.
Karan Ahuja, and my address is 325 Crooked Stick Drive, Alpharetta, Georgia, 30004. Just wanted to add on to that, after the last planning commission planning hearing, we did go back to the drawing board we had the same comments. The front wasn't a big issue for them either, the back was the issue. So what we have done is, there's no traffic in the back. This is not built as to accommodate any kind of traffic. We requested a 25 feet setback, which we have changed, increased to 40 feet. So that vegetative buffer and fence increase in size. The fence will be the same. The vegetative buffer will increase from 15 feet to 40 feet. So we total, now the setback, I think they allow 50 feet, and we're requesting a 40 feet. So that would give hopefully ample space to have that buffer. And again, no traffic in the back to disturb any kind of neighborhood people.
There's a parking lot, though, that comes all the way here to the side on 6th.
Can you?
And it looks like that parking lot comes all the way down on page 6 here. So it's essentially coming, right up to the edge of this buffer.
On Dodson?
Hmm?
I'm trying to look at the
Yes,
one.
ma'am.
Okay, Dodson, okay.
I think that's just for the drawing purpose. That parking lot can be removed, and we can just have sitting or benches over there if the council recommends, you know.
So we probably would have to have a special land use or an accessory and or addendum to whatever, if you decided.
Okay. Well, I'm curious to know what y'all's thoughts are.
As long as it's a buffer that protects the citizens and have them to have privacy, because you don't want a commercial business opening at different times of the night with lights and activity coming into your backyard or to your front yard, so. The fence and the vegetation.
Right.
I don't know if this would solve what you're describing, but have you looked at the property? Have you considered turning the development 90 degrees? And putting the back of the property along Dodson?
We have looked at other options to turn the development around or of that sort.
You look like you have more depth. If you do that, you would actually fall inside the 50-foot setback if you turned it 90 degrees.
We
With the pumps
did.
to the left.
Yeah, we
side.
did turn it around 90 degrees to look how we can have the, I think there was Alex can probably answer that better, I'm sorry. It's okay.
Evening, Alex, Southeast Civil Group. Yeah, our job as land planners is to try to give our clients a product that they're after with their business model, alongside trying to stay inside the constraints of the development ordinances. So we've looked at this one 6 ways to Sunday. We're on our 9th concept plan. We've turned it several different directions. This is the best layout for the ingress, egress of the traffic. I had a meeting this afternoon with GDOT, talking to them about how the tanker trucks are going to be coming in here and getting back out. And they really liked the fact that these larger trucks can come in on 78, exit out on Dodson Road, and get back on 78 without having to do a complete 180 and get back around. Just going back on what Marissa was saying, she said it correctly that the 15-foot structural zoning buffer adheres to the code. So there is no variance request on the buffer to the residential property.
Okay.
It's only the building setback. So the buffer for the residential property is already being adhered to.
Okay.
With according to code compliance for City of Douglasville, a 15-foot vegetative buffer with a structural fence,
Right.
opaque.
Yeah.
So, but you say the truck radii are probably is your biggest concern when you turn it in the other directions?
Yes, you can see if you turn that building 90 degrees, it's going to make it more difficult to.
Right, you lose your Dodson exit, and that's it. However, you turn to 90 the other direction.
Then you're over the setback line, because it gets skinnier on that
Are
side.
you saying the building will be too long and reach down toward the neighborhood too far? Gotcha.
Yes, sir.
I'm playing it out in my mind too, so. Okay. You've obviously studied it a lot longer than I have, so I'll trust your judgment on that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, not forgetting while we're here, folks, we need to hold our, did you have something else to add
No,
before we?
I'm just here to answer any questions you guys may have.
Well, I was going to go ahead and open up the floor for our public hearing at this time. So if we have anyone who would like to speak for or against this item, and as Councilman Davis would say, if we don't have any takers, we're going to go ahead and close the public hearing. I'm going to sleep on this, think on this, and pray on this, and we will talk about it again on Monday.
You have another one, I think, D.
I do. I got to
do.
turn the page. And that last one is to consider a petition to annex 0.82 acres on 11941 Veterans Memorial Highway and land lot 744, District 18, Section 2, Parcel ID 074418200013. Application by Mickey Kapoor and Miss Marissa Jackson.
And item D is related to B and C. This is a request for annexation. The parcel at the intersection of Veterans Memorial and Dotson Drive is currently part of Douglas County. We've gone through the process of annexation. We reached out to the county and the school board, and they sent letters of no objection to the annexation. And it's up to council to decide whether or not to annex it based on the rezoning and the variance and the proposed use.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Council, do you guys have any questions of Ms. Jackson on this item? No? Okay, and I know that these kind of all run together, so with that being said, I'm just going to go ahead and leave this one alone too, and we'll talk about it on Monday. Oh, that was a lot. Thank you so very much. Madam Mayor, that is all that we have for planning and development.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. If you would stay queued up, you are the next committee, Public Improvement and Beautification Committee, chaired by Councilmember Nicole Miller.
And Madam Mayor, we have no business this evening for public improvement and beautification.
Thank you so much. We'll do Public Relations Committee, chaired by Councilmember Samuel Davis.
The PR committee has no business this evening, Madam Mayor.
No, thank you so much. We'll move on then to Public Safety Committee, and I'll ask Mayor Pro Tem if you would take that committee, please.
Yes, Madam Mayor, I'd be happy to. The Public Safety Committee has several items at this time, and that starts with, the first item is to consider an application for open container day permit on Saturday, May 18th, 2024, from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. at Douglasville Town Green for the Taste of Douglasville, submitted by Emily Leitner of the Cultural Arts Council of Douglasville, Douglas County. Ms. Chelsea Jackson will provide us with some background.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. As you said, the Taste of Douglasville will be at the Douglasville Town Green this year. This is pretty much a routine agreement or document that you all have done with the CAC and Ms. Leitner. Over the last 2 years, you approved this open container permit. This time, just instead of it being at O'Neill Plaza, it will be at the Douglasville Town Green. Very excited to move it down there. We've been working with Ms. Leitner on logistics to have it on May 18th.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. We are very excited to have Taste on the Town Green for the very first time. My plaza will miss it, but we'll find other things to do up there, I guess. If there's any objection at this time, or any council comments or issues, then if there's no objection, I'd like to place that on the consent agenda. The next item is to consider approval of an application for an open container day permit on the following dates: April 6th, May 4th, June 8th, from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. at the Greystone Amphitheater for the 2024 Spring Concert Events. I'm trying to think, we have some people performing on those dates, do we not?
Yes, sir. There are individuals performing on those dates. So much like the fall concert series, you all did approve the fall concert series. So staff is requesting to do the same for Open Container Day for the 3 dates of April 6th, which will be Robin Thicke. That's a sold-out concert already. May 4th is the Rebirth Brass Band. That will go on sale on Friday, the 22nd, this Friday, March 22nd. And then we have June 8th, which will be KC and the Sunshine Band, and that will go on sale on the following Friday, which is March 29th is when KC and the Sunshine Band will go on sale. Of course, this is another routine document for you to open up the open container days, much like the fall series. We're asking for the spring series as well.
KC and the Sunshine Band, for those of us who remember the 70s like it was yesterday.
I know a few
Saturday Night
songs.
Fever.
Any questions or comments from council? Nope. All right, well, without objection, I'd like to place that item on the consent agenda for Monday. And my last item tonight is authorize the mayor to sign a memorandum of understanding with the Georgia Emergency Management Agency and authorize the Douglasville Police Department to apply for the non-matching fiscal year 24 Georgia Homeland Security Grant from the Georgia Emergency Management Agency in the amount of $371,638.00, and authorize the mayor to sign any related documents for the application or its later acceptance by the city of Douglasville. Major Brad Stafford will explain that.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and
Good
ladies and
evening.
gentlemen of the council.
Good evening.
We're here tonight to ask for the ability to apply for this grant and to enter into this memorandum of understanding with GEMA. It's a non-matching grant. Obviously, this is a large ticket item for the police department. We purchased one of these using drug funds about 15 years ago, and we feel like it's time to replace it. And if we can get a GMA grant, it's a non-matching grant, so it'd be an excellent use of that money. It's $371,000, is a pretty pricey item.
Mhm.
Be happy to answer any questions about what the Lenco Bearcat is. I think most of you have been by the police department and seen the
Seen it.
Bearcat that we purchased with the county 2009. It is extremely similar to that. There are just some upgrades that they've come up with over the years. There's a gas delivery system that's on this model that wasn't in existence when we got the first one. There are some accessories. The front of the Bearcat has a RAM system for pushing doors open, pushing windows open. There's some accessories you can attach to that do different things. For example, delivering that gas. This one has 4 doors, so it's easier to rescue people with it. I mean, I think in front of you, you have the quote with the different items that are listed on there that are accessories that the SWAT team would like to put on this model. And I'm happy to answer any questions about that if you'd like.
Thank you, Major. Do you have any questions or comments from the council? I had one of these when I was a kid. It was a toy version, I think. It was
Great,
awesome,
yeah.
especially with all
On
the
a toy.
attachments.
G.I. Joe.
Sounds like something out of Mission Impossible. Without any objections, I would like to place this on the consent agenda. I think we're good on that.
think that's fine.
Major. And then just to clarify, so people understand, a non-matching means that we do not have to put up anything.
We don't have to put any
That's
money
okay.
into it. Yes, sir, if we get the grant.
Cost us nothing,
Right.
so.
That's the best kind.
Thank you, Major.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, that's all we have under the Public Safety Committee at this time.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, and thank you, Major Stafford and our Deputy City Manager, Ms. Jackson, for handling those items for us. The next committee is Recreation, Culture, and Tourism. Vice Chair is Councilmember Nicole Miller.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
You're welcome.
We do have one item this evening, and that is to appoint Ms. Veronica Tassiano Ledger to the Post 5 member of the Douglasville Public Art Commission for an unexpired term ending July 1st of 2026. And Ms. Chelsea Jackson was going to talk to us about this one.
Thank you, Councilwoman Miller. Earlier last week, Councilman Watts as well as Councilman Estes interviewed Ms. Ledger. She's very excited to be considered to be appointed to the Douglasville Public Arts Commission. Of course, this is for an unexpired term to fill a seat that someone vacated earlier last year, and it will end July 1st, 2026.
Thank you so much. And I did have a chance to speak with our chairman before he left, and he also told me great things about that interview, and he sounded really excited about this seat.
Okay, good.
Agreed. Ms. Legere she was great. It was a pleasure. She had some wonderful ideas, and it has energy and excitement about it. Fantastic.
Wonderful. Well, if there are no objections then, why don't we go ahead and add that to the consent agenda, please?
All righty. I think that's good.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. That is all that we have this evening for Recreation, Culture, and Tourism.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Miller. We'll move on then to Technology Committee chaired by Councilwoman Elena Hudson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have no business under the Technology Committee this evening.
Thank you so much, Chairman Hudson. We'll move on then to Transportation Committee. Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, if you would take that, please.
Yes, Madam Mayor, we have no business under the Transportation Committee at this time.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate you standing in the gap. So that was our last committee. Outside of other business, do we have any other business from council members tonight? Bring
Madam
forward.
Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
I have a question for my fellow council members
Okay.
regarding our Public Safety Committee. And when we have applications for open container, I just wonder how you guys would feel about not making people come to council, especially like when it's our own city and we know that they know the rules, like their city is part of the city. Like, why are they having to come ask for a permit for a city event?
I totally agree with you, and I was going to talk to the city manager's office about maybe tweaking that a little bit so that we don't have to go through this unnecessary every time.
Well, I'm sure that they love coming to talk to us about it.
Yeah.
And I love talking about our events, but just to kind of simplify the process, maybe?
Yes, so actually in your policy, it does state that the mayor and council or the city manager can approve it. Usually if staff has enough time that there is a council meeting, staff just likes to put it on the council agenda to make council aware of the open container. But Ms. Hampton, or in the absence of her, myself or Ms. Callen can actually sign those open containers. What we can do for the ones that are internally with staff, of course, Ms. Kristen she does send out the highlights every week. So if it's something internally, an open container permit, I'll have her add that to your highlights if that is fine, as long as it's internally. Anything externally, will continue to ensure that it comes to you all, especially those new permits as well.
Right. And I know even Ms. Leitner had already reached out to me to let me know that she wasn't going to be here this evening, but, they've already hired, I believe it's 4 police officers for the event. She's been doing these events with the city for so long, but then again, I don't know how you create those rules, so I'm happy to simplify it however you guys are comfortable doing it.
We can definitely ensure that all internally can, City Manager Marsha Hampton can sign, and then we'll just place in your highlights. And anything externally or any new open container permits, we'll ensure they continue to come to council.
Okay, thank you.
Good. Thank you. We're streamlining this information. That's good. Thank you, Councilmember Miller. It's allergies. So we'll move on then to updates from city staff. Our city attorney, Mr. Joel Dotson.
No business, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Attorney Dotson. Staff Attorney, Ms. Miranda Jordan.
No business, Madam Mayor, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Our Police Department Major Staffer.
We have no business, Madam Mayor.
Thank you so much, sir. Our City Manager, our Deputy City Manager, Ms. Jackson.
Just 2 things. I know earlier you all spoke about putting signs up at the town green regarding no skateboarding. There are already signs up. So I was able to talk to Director Chris Bass regarding the playground rules and signs that are up. So we do have several signs of playground rules and town green rules, which say no skateboarding, amongst other things. And then, of course, on the stage, there are also signs that say notice no authorized personnel beyond this point. We'll continue to monitor to see if it's an issue of individuals going on the stage, but we do have those signs. And then secondly, just to correct the dates for the upcoming concert series, Rebirth Brass Band, those tickets do go on sale on Friday, March 22nd at 10 a.m. But for KC and the Sunshine Band, it is April 5th at 10 a.m. So April 5th for KC Sunshine Band, and Rebirth Brass Band is March 22nd. But of course, all of our social media will have that information on there, as well as anyone in the listening audience can go to greystoneamp.com for the information.
Thank you so much, Ms. Deputy City Manager. We appreciate that. And if we'll let Councilmember Davis know, since he's the person who brought up about the signs.
Yes, ma'am.
To inform him that they are already posted. And we appreciate the correction for the concerts. So now we've come to the portion from comments from citizens and delegates. If you sustain the meeting, you'd like to speak to us, please come forward, give us your name and address for the record, and you have 5 minutes to talk to us. Okay. We don't have any takers. Are you coming, Mr. Harris? Oh, I thought you was getting your stuff together. I apologize. All right, we don't have any other business, and this meeting is adjourned. It was a long meeting.